What's up, everybody? This is another Fitness Realty training video. My name is TJ McClelland. I'm the broker of Fitness Realty. Today, we're going to bring you a topic all about .loop, which is our e-signature platform. So I can't wait to show you guys this platform. I know that there are many other e-signature platforms out there that you could potentially use in your business. But .loop is the one that Fitness Realty provides for its agents. And .loop is the one that we prefer because it has a lot of oversight controls, and I can actually show you what those look like. So without further ado, let's get started. I'm going to be logging into .loop right now. This one's going to be an overview of how .loop works. What we want to dive into first is when you guys first get an account with .loop, if you're buying that for yourselves, that's perfectly okay. But if you're an agent with Fitness Realty, we will provide that for you. Once you first log in, I want you to start with your profile first. So we're going to get into the profile settings, and you want to just go to your profile and click on My Account. Once you're into your My Account settings, you're going to see tons of settings that we'll have to make sure that are set up. And the reason why you want to set all of this up first is that the software will work better with all of this pre-programmed information. So when you go to make a new contract, you will be able to just upload it with your information. Instead of putting it every single time into each contract that you make, you'll be able to make it so that it is prefabbed into the document. So of course, you're gonna wanna give yourself a headshot in here. You're gonna wanna make sure that your name is correct and your user role. So you might not be the broker manager. You might be doing property management. I just made mine the non-brokerage manager. But you guys can see the one that you're probably going to put is realtor agent. So you're going to want to make sure that your role is selected correctly. You're going to want to make sure your email is correct. Of course, make sure your phone number is correct. Make sure that your e-signature name is in there. Make sure you have e-sign initials, and then make sure that you have your company name. For everybody else that's getting into .loop and you are with a different company, make sure that your company name is in there so that it prefabs all of the contracts for you. I haven't put a tagline in, but we can actually do that right now. So in Fitness Realty's tagline is encouraging you to be the best you. All right, so now I've added that tagline in there. If you have an NRDS number, so for everybody that's a licensed realtor across the state or across America, you will get an NRDS number if you're a part of the board of realtors. And you can put your NRDS number in here. I tend to not assign anything with my NRDS number, but if you find value in connecting that in here, let me know if that works for you. I would love to hear other people's experiences with that NRDS number being connected. Now, you could also connect your Zillow Premium account or your Premier Agent account. I don't have a Premier Agent account with Zillow, and so I don't have my account linked here. Obviously, you want to get your address in there and make sure that it is correct as well. And then hit save once you've gotten all of that information correct. For me, I'll be coming back to get my headshot in there and updated. Now you can make sure that you have different profiles. So for me, I have an admin for Fitness Realty, but for you guys, you'll just have your normal profile. And you can see that if you were managing different avenues or different aspects of .loop, you might have several different profiles that you're managing. So I don't have that. So we're just going to work with the one that I've got here. So make sure that you've got your profile name, obviously making sure that it is your default account. Most likely it's going to be set to that anyways. Then make sure that you have your phone number in there. I honestly think that it's funny that they still have a fax number that you can put in. But anyway, that's just whatever. Their software still has it. This is where you can make sure that your brokerage number is set up. So ours is 106 85485, I believe, off the top of my head. I'll have to make sure that that's okay, or make sure that's correct. And then I don't have a broker agent ID or an office ID number. If you are with a brokerage firm that has either of those, I would highly suggest putting those in. And then you can see the brokerage account here. This is my old address, but that's okay. And then we've got our company name, company owner name. We are a C Corp, obviously, so there are many shareholders right now with Fitness Realty, so we don't actually have one specific name. And then, as you can see, this has been a while since I've updated this information. It's got my old email address in there, so I'm updating it as we go. And that is a good key point. You may want to check this out maybe annually or maybe every 6 months just to make sure your information is all up to date. Now we can go into document preferences. This is just these are all the options for how you want to see your documents. Right now we've got default for monospace. That looks fine to me. A normal font style. You guys could make it bold or italic if you'd like. I always love to have the things that I make or the things that I add to a contract. I love to put those in blue so that it is easily identifiable as something that you've added to the contract. I highly suggest that and using it that way. And there are many agents that use it in a similar fashion, and it just makes it so that you can easily identify all of those things in every contract. Then obviously, I've got this almost on the largest font because, you get older or whatever. It's fine. But those are all personal preferences. So I really encourage everybody setting those up to what suits you and what makes you feel the best about that. Then messenger notifications. Obviously, I have everything checked because I want to make sure that I'm staying up to date with whatever is happening in .loop. .loop or any e-signature platform is a vital piece of your business. And it is one of those pieces that you will want to know when your clients see a contract, when they open it for the first time, or maybe the second time, or when they sign it and get it back to you. You're really going to stay in touch with all of those items, and this is the best way to do that with all the notifications. Then you can manage your subscription. So obviously, if you are with another broker, they might not be paying for .loop for you. So you might be paying for this for yourself. For every member of Fitness Realty, we give them a .loop premium account for free, and we give them access to .loop. And so on this managed subscription, you can see mine's obviously a premium member, and Fitness Realty is providing that for me as well. Your guys' would look very similar to this. I don't know how all the other accounts look if they're not at our brokerage firm. So for everybody else, if you're managing it yourself, that might look a little different. Now on apps, you can connect a ton of different apps to .loop. For me, I really haven't found enough value for me to connect all of these other apps, and mostly because I just don't use many of the other apps that .loop suggests. One of the things that you could connect, though, is your Zillow premium account, like I was talking about. There is a way to connect your normal account, even if you don't have a Premier Agent Zillow account. So I do recommend kind of trying to splice those together or dovetail those together as best as you can. If you do start getting a lot of Zillow reviews, this might be a great way to put those in here. It used to actually have more apps that you could connect. So maybe it's in this new app directory down here. So there used to be way more on this screen. I haven't looked at it for probably about a year. So it looks like they've really changed a lot of their process. All right, once you've got your profile all set up, then you can start to check out what other items are at the top of .loop. So we've got our reporting here. I actually don't use this reporting feature very often because I utilize a different function to track all of our listings and contracts that are under contract currently. But if you do use .loop and you like this reporting feature, you could see everything that you've got under contract and all of your completed contracts. Like I said, though, for me, I don't really track it in this specific portion. I use a spreadsheet that I like better. And then we're going to skip loops because that's the main bread and butter of this entire thing. And .loop gives you the e-signature functions like you would want for your business. But we're going to skip that. Let's use tasks. So once we go to tasks, you can see that you can set up different task systems for yourself. Your brokerage firm can also assign different tasks for you, and you can also set those up for each different contract if you'd like to do that as well. So there is a way to have loops that have templates that have tasks, which sounds like a long chain of things, but once you get into .loop, it'll make more sense. So you can see there is none assigned to me currently. There might be some overdue. I don't have any overdue actually. There's completed tasks, which mine aren't showing up on here because I use a different account, a different profile for mine. And then you can see all the tasks if they were assigned to you. And these would be those personal tasks that you could set up for yourself. On loop tasks, you can see I've got 2 assigned to me. I've got a move in, move out checklist that somebody sent to me and a residential rental agreement. So those are probably pretty old. One's back in May, one's back in June. But those tasks you can see once they get assigned to you. I most likely don't have any overdue except those move in, move out checklists, which is a loop that we're not utilizing anymore. And then the completed tasks should have a lot on mine. So you can see I've got a lot of different tasks that I've completed from different loops as I'm helping somebody close their transaction. And then you can go to your all tasks, and that'll be all the tasks that are assigned to you on every different loop that you have. You can see I've got a boatload of tasks that are assigned to me on different properties that we're running and managing currently. All right, and then once you go to people, once you select into the people tab, there is going to be a contact list with every contact that you've had in .loop. So I usually don't manage all my contacts on this platform. Obviously, I like them on Google Contacts. And so on here, this just has the name of my client and their email address, whichever one was associated with when they were working with me to get their contract closed. But you could utilize this as a contact database if you would like. I just don't utilize it in that fashion. But you can see, let's click on one person, for instance. Most of their information is probably blurred out on the screen right now, but you can see you could add their name, of course, their email address, their phone number, their street address. So pretty much just like any other contact database, you could utilize it in that fashion. But like I said, for us and what I teach, I prefer either Apple Contacts or Google Contacts. And mostly that's just because you can put more information in there and it's always in one solidified place. And then also it seems like if you lose your phone or something, you'll have access to Google Contacts or Apple Contacts pretty easy. Okay, and then on the very last tab is templates. Templates is where you can set up different templates for yourself. So in our brokerage firm, we've given you a lot of templates to start with just because I have a certain way to set up all the loops for the first part. And then once you figure out if you like doing something differently, then you can make your own templates. And that part is very, very easy to do. So right now in the personal templates, you can set up your own templates in that box, or you can set them up in inbox, or you can set up different types of documents. So for me, I've got different document templates for new team member. We've got buying documents, listing documents. We used to do property management, so we had that box here. And then the one that you'll all be assigned to if you're with Fitness Realty, you'll have access to the UAR interactive forms. And all the UAR interactive forms means is those are all the state approved forms, and .loop has put those in that certain folder for you to utilize and make sure that your business is all on the up and up. In this template, though, you can also make task templates. So for me and what we've provided for Fitness Realty, you guys will have a task template checklist. And so you guys can see when you open up a listing, you'll have a checklist that that you could follow for that listing. And same thing for a buyer, that when you're representing a buyer, the checklist is vastly different. Some similarities to a listing, but just on different sides of the table. And so we've created those checklists because no deal is the same, and they all kind of progress forward, but they all go kind of forward a little bit, backward a little bit, maybe and sideways. And so we've designed the checklist to be not a step-by-step process, but really to be a checklist where you can kind of go ahead 5 items, maybe back 3 items. And so it just gives you a general idea so that you can stay on top of your transaction that you're running. And then if you have certain clauses that you have in .loop, you could put those clauses in here. So let's say you have a closing cost clause that you always love to use, or you have an FHA or VA clause that you really love to put in there. Most of the time, and you can see on mine, I don't have any clauses that I use in here. And most of the time that is because the state approved forms usually have some type of clause that's already built in. And so you don't need to write your own legal language in here. And I recommend not utilizing any of your own language. Use the state approved forms because that helps you stay legal. All right, so that is kind of a general overview of the .loop system and how to get started. The next piece that we're going to cover is the loop system and how the loops work. I'm only going to do one briefly and just open up a loop for a new listing so you can kind of see what that looks like. But we have training videos that go over buyer agency and seller agency, and most of those go straight through the loop setup on each one of those items. So this one's going to be a really quick, brief overview. So once you start in .loop and you want to start a brand new loop, you want to just hit add loop. And then, like I always teach, if I'm doing a listing, the listing will be under the property address. So let's say my home address right now, 1122 Hatch Row. And I would type it out that way. If I'm going to be representing a buyer, I love for the template or the loop to be under that buyer's name. So let's call it Fred Flintstone. So for you guys out there, I'd probably just dated myself. What's up? You young kids, you don't even know what that is. Anyway, so when I'm doing a listing, I love to put all of the things under that listing address. And the main reason is because every document that you have is going to be associated with that property address. On the other side, when you're representing a buyer, every document that you have is going to be under that buyer's name, and that's why I put their loop under their name. Now, for you guys out there, if you are running dual agency, and in Fitness Realty, we have capabilities to do dual agency. If you are running that, I would suggest running 2 loops, one for the listing side, so one for the listing of your clients, and then one for their buyer side. So running 2 different loops so that you don't actually cross-contaminate those documents or cross-populate those. And it just makes a mess when you only have one loop, but you're running a listing and a buyer side at the same time. Oftentimes, you will get those fouled up and the dates you'll start to miss. And so to make sure that you guys are well organized, I always try to make the listing about that property address and buyers about the client and their name. So this one right now, we're going to open it up with Fred Flintstone. So I'm going to hit continue. This one is going to be the template. So if you guys are at a brokerage firm that doesn't provide a template, you guys can create your own templates, like I said. But for us, we've provided those buying templates. So this one would be representing a buyer. So we open up the buying template. I usually never put their photos in, but I do have an agent that typically puts a photo in of the house that they might be purchasing or the listing. For me, I just never use any of that. And mostly I just get lazy about it. So if you guys want to stay even more organized, you could put a picture here. And then we hit done, and we are going to check out this loop right now. So we just made a loop called Fred Flintstone, and it is a purchase. And right now the status, we're going to be saying he's in pre-offer, and let's say he's going to be in the $400,000 range. Now, the reason why we put $400,000 there is so that if you are tracking it with this reporting here at the top, then you will be able to find that in your reporting, and you'll be able to track all of those numbers. So let's go back into the Fred Flintstone loop. Okay, so I made the screen smaller, so that might make it more difficult to see, but we're going to go back to Fred Flintstone, and you see I've got it October 30th. So let's just say most of the time when you take a buyer's agency agreement, then you might just put 6 months. So I'm just going to bump this out to, let's say, March 28th. So typically on the .loop system, though, once we actually get this person under contract and they get an actual deadline, then you can fill in this closing deadline to be more accurate. All right, now that we've changed that, I'm going to make it the normal size so that we can see it. So let's go back into the Fred Flintstone loop. And once we're in there, now you can really see how the loop is set up so that all of the documents can be in one centralized place. So there's tons of information that you could do with this loop. You could click on this person's name, you could adjust their name, you could adjust all of their details in this button here. You can see all of the activity log for anything that you do in this loop. So let's say you archive a document or you get a document signed, that will be in this activity log. You could send an earnest money request. I never use this feature. Most of the time we're doing earnest money on the outside and doing different things that way. But it looks like they're trying to make a new feature here. In my opinion, it's just easier to do the earnest money on the outside. And then if you're with a brokerage firm that makes you review all your documents, you could submit this loop for review to the admin. We don't necessarily have a review process all the time continually through all the documents. So most of the time, like if you need help on a document, you just call me or text me and say, hey, I want you to look at a certain document. But you could submit it for review. That just notifies somebody, and potentially in the future, we will have an admin that manages all the contracts and looks at all of them. So you might want to submit it for review. You could flag it if there's notifications, or sorry, this notifications box shows you if there's anything that you need to do. Then there are notes or messages. So once you add people to this loop, then you might have messages in here that somebody else has written to you. Then over here, you can add a folder if you want to add a new folder for a new document. Over here, we've got all of the templates for the documents that most likely you'll need at some point during the transaction. Some of them are optional. Some of them I've made required so that you know, hey, to do business with this person, you really need this one to be state legal, and to make you're doing, or make sure that you're using all the mandatory forms. Sorry about that. That got a little tongue twisted. But then you can see we have local service providers if you wanted to see who we use for mortgage, home inspections, home warranties, home insurance, and escrow and title. Sometimes these aren't set up to be perfectly accurate all the time. So what I like to do is, again, run your Google contacts or Apple contacts and make sure that you put in there with a certain person, hey, this is a great lender, or whoever you're working with, and put those in your contacts. That way you don't have to manage all your contacts in a second database, which would be kind of terrible and just kind of redundant. Now, on every loop, I always add the people first. So before you add any documents or go over any signatures or anything, I always add people first. Like I said, this one's going to be a lot quicker about where we actually go in the loop, so that we can save on time. But when you get to the buyer agency agreement or the exclusive listing agreement, you will see that I will break down how to add people into every loop. So if you want more information about those, go find those videos. And if you're in the training portal, it's probably 3 or 4 slots down from this video. All right, and then like I said, we've got all of the tasks that we listed that we kind of went over in the templates, and those are all listed here at the bottom. So once you open up a buyer checklist, then it comes with all of these tasks. So you can really see we've given you a lot of tools to be sufficient or to utilize in your business in .loop to make things easier. Now, like I said, there's training videos all about how the documents are set up and how to send those out for signatures. So I don't want to get too granular about that. This has been an overview about .loop and how to use it. And the main thing that I want you guys to understand is that with us and the brokerage Fitness Realty, we are providing .loop, the e-signature platform, for you guys so that you can stay utilizing the state mandatory forms and stay legal. And then also so you have access to an e-signature platform. So when you're making contracts and sending those to clients, you can get those signed immediately, or you can get those signed at your client's best, most efficient time. A lot of times the cool thing is once you send them a contract, they will actually be able to open it from their phone. They could be flying, they could be on a boat, they could be on a cruise, wherever they are, they could open it up on their phone and sign those contracts. So .loop or any e-signature platform makes life a lot easier in today's fast-moving industry. And so that's why we provide .loop. Okay, if you have any questions about Loop or how to use it, obviously text me or call me. But this has been a video all about Loop, and we'll see you next time on the next training video. See ya.